Carnos au Bellona had his faults, but he was right when he said that all we have in this life is our shout into the wind. He shouted his own name, and I learned the folly in that. But before I begin the war that will claim me, one way or another, I will make my shout, and it will be something far greater than my own name, far greater than a roar of family pride. It is the dream I've carried and shepherded since I was 16. Io appears beneath me on the hologram, replacing the comedy. A ghostly giant of the girl I knew. Her face is quiet and pale and angrier than in my dreams. Hair dull and stringy, clothing drab and ragged. But her eyes burn out from her grey surroundings, bright as the blood on her mangled back as she looks up from the metal whipping box. Her mouth barely seems to open, just a sliver of space between her lips. But her song bleeds from her, voice thin and fragile as a spring dream. My son, remember the chains when gold ruled with iron reins. We roared and twisted and screamed for hours a veil of better dreams. She echoes across the metal city, louder than she echoed in that far-off lost city of stone. Her light flickering across the pale faces watching from their cages. These oranges and reds who never knew her in life, but hear her in death. They're silent and sad as she is walked to the gallows. I hear my vain cries, see myself sagging against grey hands, feel I'm there again. The hard-packed dirt on my knees as the world falls out from under me. Augustus speaks with Pliny and Leto as frayed hemp loops around Io's neck. Hatred radiates from the faces in the stacks. I could no more stop Io's death then than I can stop it now. It's as if it always has been. My wife falls. I flinch, hearing the rustling of her clothing, the creaking of the rope. And I look down at the hologram, forcing myself to watch as the boy I was stumbles forward to wrap his hands with their red sigils around her kicking legs. I watch him kiss her ankle and pull her feet with all his feeble strength. Her himanthrus falls, and I speak. I would have lived in peace, but my enemies brought me war. My name is Darrow of Lycos. You know my story. It is but an echo of your own. They came to my home and killed my wife, not for singing a song, but for daring to question their reign, for daring to have a voice. For centuries, millions beneath the soil of Mars have been fed lies from cradle to grave. That lie has been revealed to them. Now they've entered the world you know, and they suffer as you do. Man was born free, but from the ocean shores to the crater cities of Mercury, to the ice waste of Pluto, down to the mines of Mars, he is in chains. Chains made of duty, hunger, fear. Chains hammered to our necks by a race that we lifted up. A race that we empowered. Not to rule, not to reign, but to lead us from a world torn by war and greed. Instead, they have led us into darkness. They have used the systems of order and prosperity for their own gain. They expect your obedience, ignore your sacrifice, and hoard the prosperity that your hands create. To hold tight to their reign, They forbid our dreams, saying a person is only as good as the color of their eyes, of their sigils. I remove my gloves and clench my right fist in the air as Io did before she died, but unlike Io, my hands bear no sigils. Removed by Mickey when I was carved in Tinos. I am the first soul in hundreds of years to walk without them. The silence in the hollows gives way to sounds of shock, fear. But now I stand before you a man unbound. I stand before you, my brothers and sisters, to ask you to join me, to throw yourselves on the machines of industry, to unite behind the sons of Ares. Take back your cities, your prosperity. Dare to dream of better worlds than these. Slavery is not peace. Freedom is peace. And until we have that, it is our duty to make war. This is no license for savagery or genocide. If a man rapes, you kill him on the spot. If a man murders civilians, high or low, you kill him on the spot. This is war, but you are on the side of good, and that carries a heavy burden. We rise not for hate, not for vengeance, but for justice. For your children, for their future. I speak now to gold, to the Oriate who rule. I have walked your halls, broken your schools, eaten at your tables, and suffered your gallows. You tried to kill me. You could not. I know your power. I know your pride. And I have seen how you will fall. For 700 years you have ruled over the dominion of man, and this is all you have given us. It is not enough. Today, I declare your rule to be at its end. Your cities are not your cities. Your vessels are not your vessels. Your planets are not your planets. They were built by us. And they belong to us, the common trust of man. Now, we take them back. Never mind the darkness you spread. Never mind the night you summon. We will rage against it. We will howl and fight till our last breath, not just in the mines of Mars, but on the shores of Venus, on the dunes of Io's sulphur seas, on the glacial valleys of Pluto. We will fight in the towers of Ganymede, and the ghettos of Luna, and the storm-stricken oceans of Europa. And if we fall, others will take our place, because we are the tide. And we are rising. Then Severo slams his fist against his chest. Once, twice, thumping it rhythmically. It is echoed by the 200 sons of Ares, their fists pounding their chests. By the howlers. In the steel mesh of the cages, men and women thump their fists into the walls, till it sounds like the heartbeat rising through the bowels of this vampire moon, up through the hives of blues, where they sit drinking coffee and studying gravitational mathematics under the warm lights of their intellectual communes, through the grey barracks in each precinct, among the silvers at their trading desks, the golds in their mansions and yachts. Out through the black ink that separates our little bubbles of life, before careening down into the halls of the jackal's lonely hold on Attica, where he sits in his winter throne, surrounded by a sea of bent necks. There our sound rattles in his ears. There he hears my wife's heart beat on. and he cannot stop it, as it goes down and down into the mines of Mars, playing on the screens as reds beat on their tables, and the copper magistrates watch in swelling fear as the miners look hatefully up through the duraglass that keeps them imprisoned. Her heart beats mutinously through the bustling oceanside promenades of the archipelagos of Venus, as sailboats float proudly in the harbour, and shopping bags hang in frightened hands, and golds look to their drivers, their gardeners, the men who power their cities. It beats through the tin-roofed mess halls of the wheat and soybean latifundia that cover the great plains of Earth, where Reds use machines to toil under the huge sun to feed mouths of people they will never meet, in places they will never be. It beats even along the spine of the Empire, raging through the spiked city moon of Luna, passing by the Sovereign in her glass-high refuge, to thunder on down, snaking electrical wires and drying clothing lines, to the Lost City, where a pink girl makes breakfast after a long night of thankless work, where a brown cook leans away from his stove to hear, as grease spatters his apron, and a grey watches from the window of his patrol skiff, as a violet girl smashes the front door of a post office and his datapad summons him back to the station for emergency riot protocols. And it beats inside me, this terrible hope, as I know that the end has begun, and I am finally awake. "Break the chains!" I roar, and my people roar back.